Hello, I am Dijoy Johny. My thesis is entitled Governing the Shift to Servitization, Dynamic Allocation, Strategic Scaling, and Multilevel Evidence from B2B Ecosystem. So this thesis asks a simple but important question. How can firms shift from traditional product selling to servitization in a way that is economically sound, strategically credible, and organizationally workable? And this thesis is divided into three chapters. In chapter 1, we ask this question: how should firms allocate between traditional and servitization models? In chapter 2, we ask the question: can servitization signal superior product durability and quality? And in chapter 3, we ask the question: what relationship and ecosystem conditions help servitization to succeed in practice? So servitization is a word first coined into literature by Vandarme Radhe in the year 1988. So the classical definition can be like that. Servitization is a strategic transformation of a business from product-oriented business to service-oriented models, where the manufacturers integrate value-added services into their traditional product offering, creating a holistic solution for their customers. One of the earliest industrial examples is given by Rolls-Royce Power by Hour. So instead of only selling the engines, Rolls-Royce charged customer based on the engine flying hours, ensuring service support and availability. And this is widely regarded as one of the earliest example of product service outcome-based business model. So many firms operate both the traditional way of selling and servitized way of selling in parallel fashion. So this creates three major challenges: allocation challenge, information challenge, and governance challenge. So this thesis looks through a unified lens: governance of risk, information and relationship in the shift to servitization. In chapter 1, it deals with the risk governance. In chapter 2, it deals with information governance. And in chapter 3, it deals with relationship governance. So the thesis moves from portfolio choice to market signaling to ecosystem execution. Chapter 1 asks this important question: how should a risk-averse firm allocate resources between TBM and SBM? And the central idea is that the TBM and SBM influence each other. In a way, if a manufacturer is providing both TBM and SBM, there is a possibility of cannibalization. And their performance changes with the market conditions. Therefore, the best allocation is not fixed. It depends upon the stability of the competitive environment. And this chapter gives a practical boardroom message. In stable conditions, firms can move confidently towards the SBM. In fragile or saddle type conditions, the firm should be cautious because the system can be pushed in the wrong direction. In highly unstable conditions, rushing into SBM may destroy the value rather than creating it. So the manager meaning is that the servitization should be treated as a governed transition, not as a blind strategic fashion. So the chapter 1 tells us when to accelerate, when to rebalance, and when to delay. Coming to chapter 2, we ask this important question: can servitization itself act as a signal that a product is more durable and of higher quality? So this chapter focuses on setting where customers cannot perfectly observe the durability beforehand. That creates an information problem. A highly durability firm wants the customer to trust it, but a low durability firm will try to imitate them. The question is whether choosing servitization can separate the good type and the bad type firm. So intuition is powerful and simple. If a firm offers servitization model, it often retains ownership and remains responsible for the performance, maintenance, and recovery. So a truly durable producer can bear that responsibility better. A low durability producer finds it more costly to do so. So when the cost of pretending is high, only the genuinely high quality firm can credibly choose servitization. So servitization is not only a revenue model, it can also become a market signal of hidden quality. So the key insight is that a good policy does not only change recovery economics, it also changes whether the market can still distinguish high quality firms from low quality firms. So the novel twist that we bring is that policy affects not only the operations, but also the information credibility. This chapter shows two possible outcomes. One is separating outcome and the other is pooling outcome. In separating outcome, we look into how high durability firms do servitization, so the customers interpret SBM as a credible quality signal. In pooling equilibrium or pooling outcome, we look into both high and low durability firm chooses the same model, so the signal disappears. So the main message is that if subsidies become too generous or recovery become too easy, even the weak firms may imitate the strong ones. Then servitization no longer signals superior durability. So this chapter warns that well-intended policy can unintentionally destroy signaling value. In chapter 3, we ask this important question. What makes servitization innovation actually work inside buyer-supplier ecosystem? While the first two chapters look into the strategic choice and market logic, chapter 3, we move into the organizational reality. And the chapter asks, what kind of managerial mindset supports servitization? What kind of relationship climate helps partners to learn together? And how does digital integration shape the final innovation outcomes? So the chapter develops a relational pathway. Service mindset. If service mindset is high, it will lead to higher relational resilience. If relational resilience is high, it leads to the joint learning. And if joint learning improves, it leads to servitization innovation performance. So servitization innovation performance basically means when the buyers are asking for some innovative solutions in the product or service, whether the seller is ready to give that, or seller is providing that innovative solutions as the customer demands. So when the manager thinks in service terms, they become more collaborative. That strengthens the relationship ability to absorb shocks and adopt. Resilient relationship learn better together. Better joint learning improves servitization innovation outcome. So the core takeaway is that servitization innovation does not come only from the technology or contracts. It emerges from how partners think, respond, and learn together. And we look through two other different lenses. One is psychological safety and other is digital integration. The digital system helps, but they do not replace the value of healthy relationship. In fact, when the systems become highly integrated, the marginal benefit of extra interpersonal learning becomes smaller. So the chapter 3 gives a more balanced view. Digital infrastructure matters, but relational governance still matter deeply. So the manager lesson is very clear. The firm should not treat servitization as only a product redesign problem. The success of servitization depends on both hard systems and soft relational capabilities. So this explains servitization as a shift that must be governed at 3 levels: portfolio level, market level, and ecosystem level. And this thesis contributes in 3 major ways. It shows that servitization is not a one-dimensional strategy, it is a dynamic governance problem. It explains that servitization can create value not only through service revenue, but also through signaling credibility and ecosystem learning. And it connects strategy, economics, and operational behavior into one integrated framework. And the thesis moves the conversation from should firms servitize to how should firms govern the transition to servitization well. So the final message is that servitization creates value only when the shift is governed properly. That means allocate carefully, signal credibly, and collaborate intelligently. When these 3 are aligned, firms can move from simply selling products to building durable, trusted, and innovative service ecosystems. I sincerely thank my guide, Professor Siddharth Espati, my research advisory committee members, Professor Ramesh Krishnan and Professor Sadish Krishnan, and I also thank my TC chair, Professor Rubesh Kumar Pati. Thank you.